Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. The information on today's program was gathered from many different places and many different people. So if you hear yourself in our conversation today, realize and understand it's not all about you. Now, when you know that you're ready to have me come and do a leadership seminar at your place of location, well, you just have to give us a call. 727-422-1833 and get on our calendar and we'll make it happen. Today, we're going to talk leadership. I know that's a surprise, but we're going to talk leadership from a base value. What do I mean by that? So many times people believe that leadership comes with a title, and you get it because you get the title, or it comes because you have finished some education and you get some letters behind your name. It could be that you just assume leadership even though maybe you shouldn't. So when we really start to look at this, leadership is really an active word because it means taking action. Now, great leaders, well, they have some qualities, some skills that I believe everyone has. It's just great leaders tend to sharpen them. And they don't give up until they keep on learning. The first one we're going to look at is the great leader's plan. There's a whole saying that says if you don't plan your day, you plan to fail. Well, mine was if you're not planning your life, someone else is and will. And I don't think I really kind of grasped that till I became a bigger, better leader in owning my own company, by the way. When I found myself having to surround myself with other people who were quicker, faster, better, smarter than I was, it was a really fun time. Sometimes people would say, well, Dick, why did you do that? You're the owner of the company. You should be the leader. And I quite frankly said there are things that I'm not quite good at. So do what you do best and farm out the rest. But the planning piece, man, that was something I was good at. But the fun part is I'm a long-range planner. If you ask me to look at the whole year and plan out the whole year, and I'll be glad to take and do that. I'm able to put it on the calendar and get it ready to take and go to work. Now, Miss Robin, on the other hand, she's a short-term planner, which is wonderful because that complements me. Even though I have it on there, she's the one that really makes sure that all the people are in place to make things happen. So two kinds of leaders, you see? And that's why this really starts to work in a powerful manner. But a plan is more than that. You see, a plan goes along with your directional values. It starts off with looking at your vision, at your long-range picture, and where you want to end up, either your family, your organization, your church, your Boy Scout troop, whatever it is. It's looking at where are we going to end up? What's that look like? And then it needs to be fed through also our mission. What's our mission? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? And of course, that's where this strategy, the plan, really starts to make sense. But the plan is more than that. The plan needs to have in each one of those little columns the person that's accountable for making that happen. Now, along with that, we always here at Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, on our calendar, we put the person accountable, but we always put a number 2. Now, the reason we do that is we grew up in scouting, and we've lived our whole lives with what we call too deep leadership. It just seems to make sense. Someone gets sick or something happens to someone, the other person knows what's going on and can just slide right in. How smart is that? Well, it's pretty darn smart. So when we're putting together our plan every year, I get out the big sheets of paper. We put them up on the walls here in our office with a month on each one and the dates on them. And the first thing we do is in that plan, we stick in our time of vacation or downtime, whichever you want to call it. And then Miss Robin brings out her calendar with all the birthdays and anniversaries of things we need to not miss. That goes up there. And of course, if we have any doctor's appointments or those kind of things, those go on there. Those are very important to us. The next things that go up there are our company dates. Someplace I'm going to be speaking, when a new book is out, need to be out by. All those different parts and pieces, things that Miss Robin's doing with her organization and the dates on that. And then we really start looking at the things that need to happen. Okay? And when we start looking at the things that need to happen, we start to prioritize. And the way we do it here at Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, Training Development, we make a big list. And then we sit around and we start to prioritize what is the most important thing for us to do that lets us live our mission and achieve our vision. And we start nailing it down from there. Now, the next great thing that a leader does, and we've talked about this a little bit, is a great leader has a vision. Doesn't usually come up to this all by his or her lonesome. This vision needs to be where the company or organization or family sees themselves in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. I like to do short range and long range. That's just the way we like to do things. It seems to build easier that way. The opportunity is, though, is you have to have something. Where is it you want to end up? Now, I will tell you that usually, or most times, that vision doesn't change a whole lot from year to year. It just doesn't. And the mission hardly ever changes. Miss Robin's mission, our mission here at our home is helping other people arrive where they want to arrive. And that just means that we help everyone. And we really gain a lot of goodness out of that, but we gain a lot of personal things from it. Our vision, well, we've always built our vision as a corporate and as a family. Many years ago, I'll tell you this story because our vision was to have a place in the mountains and a place here in Florida. And as we had our ages and stages and our children grew and things went on, it changed just a little bit. We never saw the need to go out and buy that piece of land. We can rent something when we want to do that now. But what we did is we changed just a little bit to how we saw ourselves and where we would see ourselves living. Now that we're putting a few active years on. And so that part has changed, where we're going to live. But the rest of that vision didn't change. That's what I'm saying. And here's what did change, though. You see, with ages and stages of both our organization and our family, our strategy did change, our plan. Now, we still travel 4 times a year. We still do many of those things and spend time with our children. But that's become more important than running the organizational business. But we still feel so driven to be able to help you, the leaders out there, see how important this is. So a great leader has a plan. And you see, it's fed through the vision and the mission. Now, having a vision really means that you as the leader, and then all the leaders, need to buy into it, both intellectually and emotionally. If not, then what happens is people kind of let it fall to the wayside. I'm sure that you've been involved with some organization that had a vision and it was plastered up on the wall somewhere and even on the top of their letterhead. But I'll bet you if you go around and ask everybody if they know what that is or how to explain it and what's the story behind it, I'll bet my bottom dollar that they can't do it. That's why great leaders, and I use the word leaders instead of leader, because I truly believe everyone in the organization is a leader. You have to lead yourself before you can lead anyone else. And that means all the people need to be on the same page. And so all the leaders need to have the buy-in, emotionally, mentally, and walk the talk. Now, great leaders, though, they have courage. You see, from time to time, there's going to be disagreements in your organization. Imagine that. You would think, well, we don't ever have disagreements. Well, I'll bet you do. And here's the thing. How leaders handle that disagreement is really the mark of a great leader. Do they respond in, it's my way or the highway, like I heard from a leader just the other day? His organization is crumbling around him, and he's wondering why. And I said to him, well, did you really say this? He says, yes, and I believe it. They either get on board or they get out. Well, he never really told them what the vision was, and they didn't buy into it mentally or emotionally. It was a pretty sad tale of woe, to be quite honest with you. They need to be courageous in order to stand up and say, this is not the right path. This is what I meant about that strategy, that plan. Sometimes you get headed down a direction and you just get there and you thought it was the best way, but you get halfway there and you realize that's not the way to go. And you have to have the courage to stand up and say, man, we've got to turn around and start over. That's what a great leader does. A great leader has the courage to nip things in the bud. If he sees or he hears or she hears the backbiting and the storytelling on one another, gossiping. I love my buddy Dave Ramsey. Dave has a policy. If he hears anyone gossiping in his organization, they get one chance at it. They're warned at one time. Next time, they're out the door. He has said that over the number of years, how that has kept his company on a positive note every single day. Now, he says there's disagreements from time to time. But everyone has learned if they have a disagreement to take it face to face, work it through, get it done. That's courage. They have courage great leaders have courage to act. Sometimes there's time to put it in front of a group of people and work on it as a team before you act, and sometimes they just have nothing. You've got to act immediately. And great leaders have the courage to do that. They also have the knowledge and the backing to do that. That's that ongoing, continuous learning part of being a great leader. Great leaders have learned that they don't know everything. And they need to delegate to people who are quicker, faster, smarter, better. And great leaders learn this because they know their gifts and talents. They know their skills. They know what they can do best and what they should delegate out. Finding people on the team and putting them in charge, delegating that piece to them, and they're accountable for it. But once they're accountable for it, check in now and then, but don't ride their hiney. Micromanaging has never worked, just so you know. Great leaders delegate. Great leaders inspire. One of the greatest things, I worked for a gentleman one time, and every single day, no matter rain, shine, whatever, he was at that front door. And when you walked in, you got a handshake and, hey, we're glad to have you. Thanks for coming in today. What are you teaching in your class today? How can I help you? And he would inspire you with, if you got down in the dumps about something that was happening. If you had a student that was just not, you weren't able to reach, he would always make sure he took time. You see, great leaders do that. They take time. They're accessible. Okay? And it was more than just having what one leader I worked with or for said, I've got an open door policy. But he was never there, and he was always too busy to talk to you. So it really, was that an open door policy? He was never accessible. You see, great leaders, they know they've got to be available for the people that they serve. Did you get that? Great leaders must be available to the people they serve. Robert Greenleaf did the leadership part of the servant leadership. And many years ago, when I picked up that big green book that was about 2.5 inches thick, it said servant leadership on it. And I was reading it every night before bed, and my wife kept saying to me, why are you reading that big book and you're underlining, you're taking notes, and you're spending hours every night doing this? It was kind of an eye-opener for me. Servant leadership. Being available for the people you serve. Well, when I read that, it changed everything in my thinking about a great leader. Great leaders mentor. You see, one of the jobs of a great leader is to build more great leaders. And remember, you heard me say that I truly believe everyone is leader. I think everyone has the ability to be a leader. There are those who take it up to the next notch. They struggle and they seek to find more information. How to be a better leader, and how do I grow myself to do that? One of these ways is to get a mentor and to mentor others. I found that mentoring those who come into the organization who have the want and the will to learn really does make a difference. Now, I have to just be honest with you that not everyone is able to be mentored. I'm to be quite honest with you. You see, you have to be ready. You have to be ready as the mentor, and you have to be ready as the mentee. Because this is a person that's going to come alongside. They've been there, they've got the t-shirt, and they've had some failures, they've had some wins, and they can share those with you. And that's why this is so important. Great leaders are also great coaches. And that's more than just coaching from the sideline or Sunday afternoon ball game. Coaching is really all about helping people help themselves. Great leaders know how to ask great questions. You see, a great leader who's working with another leader as a coach, the leadership coaching method is they truly believe in them enough to know that they already know the right answer. They really know how to do what they need to be done. They know when and where and all the different parts and pieces. Unfortunately, they might have that little person in their head talking to them. And it's a negative things coming in. What a coach does is ask enough questions where the person gets to answer them and hear themselves. I don't know about you, but many times when my wife have asked me a question, I've heard myself answer, and it's like just smacking myself in the head and going, why didn't I get that before? Leadership through the coaching method is so right on the money. I truly hope you see how these things all fit together. That great leaders have a plan, great leaders have a vision, great leaders share that vision, and great leaders take charge. They act, they delegate, they inspire, they mentor, and they coach. Now, I'm going to tell you that there's some special things that go along with this. That great leaders are always going to spend time learning and perfecting. And one of them is communication. And you would think in today's world, communicating would be the easiest thing we do. Well, heck, we've got what? Emails and Twitter and Facebook, and we've got one of these fancy little phones I've got here somewhere. You know, and it rings all the time. It sends me messages. It talks to me when I don't want it to. So communication should be easy, but why is it so hard? I believe communication is so hard is because many times we don't take the time. We don't take the time to truly invest in listening to the other person. It seems like no matter what school I went to, it was the first person that raised their hand that, got called on. They were listening just enough to give an answer. It had to be an answer. It didn't matter if it was any good or not. It didn't matter if it really mattered. It's just it was an answer. But great leaders, they take the time and invest in people to really listen. Not just to have an answer, but they listen to get the whole story. All the parts and pieces. They make sure that they ask some questions to ensure that they have received what that person is sending. You know, many times when we get really excited, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I get talking too quickly. And sometimes the message that I thought I sent, I didn't send it clearly and concise enough. And so when the person asks me a question about it, it gives me an opportunity to do that. Great leaders take the time to learn communicational values. Great leaders encourage creativity amongst their people. This creativity is such an exciting thing because it allows for that F word, failure. But you see, great leaders understand that failure is the most positive word in the dictionary. You see, failure is just a learning tool, and that's positive. But if you're not creative enough to give it a try to take the risk, well, you're just sitting there like a bump on a log. What good is that? So leaders, get the creativity out there. Great leaders ask for feedback. Now, they don't ask for someone to just dump on them, but they ask good questions about how am I doing? Is there things I can be doing better? How are my listening skills? You see, great leaders know that they're not on the game every single day. They know, just like everybody else, they have good days and bad days. And sometimes they mess up. But you don't know that unless you have a good group of people and there's a trustworthiness between the two of you. There's a character's built that they feel comfortable giving you that feedback. I did work for a couple gentlemen like that, and I worked for one, quite frankly, that didn't believe in that. He believed in retribution. So no one talked to him. He'd say everything's great because no one's complaining. Yeah, no one's complaining because no one wanted to take and get whacked on the head. Great leaders are accountable. Accountability runs for everyone. Anyone has heard me talk on stage or anywhere else has heard me say the two things that I teach, and the only two things that I teach, is personal accountability and personal leadership. That's because that's all I do. It's so important to me to help you see that personal accountability has to be everywhere. You know, it's not always someone else's fault. It's not always something else happened. It isn't. You see, those are just excuses. And leaders, great leaders, don't make excuses. They accept their faults. They accept when things don't go right. They accept and move on. You see, that's the difference. They don't make excuses. They make new plans. I have to tell you, this next word is one that great leaders are committed. You know, the biggest thing about running a large organization is you must be committed to each and every person within that organization. See, it's not just them that you're leading. They have families, children, people at home. They might have extended family. They might have health issues. They might have, Lord knows how many different things that's going on in their world, because they're individuals and they're people. And you have to be dedicated to them as well as the organization. And I'm going to tell you what, you need to be dedicated to your own family, because you can't ever forget where you came from and who you're working for. Even when you run your own corporation, I guarantee that you're working for someone. When I worked for a large organization, people would say, well, why are you doing that? You act like you own the company. And I always told them I did. Even though I worked for someone and got a check from somebody, you know, the organization, I always treated it as like it was my company. It was a different thought process. It was the way my grandfather raised me, that you go to work for someone, that's fine, but you work there like you own it. Because when you're a leader, it changes the way you do things. It changes the way you think. The one I really want you to write down, and if you're driving, please don't do that. But if you're not, if you're at home, would you please write this down? Write down capital M, capital A, capital R, capital F. Stands for MARF. Stands for maintain absolute rigid flexibility. You see, great leaders have this ability to be flexible enough in their plans, in their long-term range, in every part and piece of their life, that they can be flexible enough as, hey, Mr. Dick, I need to talk to you, and have the time to actually stop and talk to that person. Or, boy, that didn't work. Let's try something new real quick. But it's how you handle those type of opportunities is how you'll be remembered, and how you'll be respected, and how you'll be treated as a leader. Our time is coming to a close. It always moves too fast. On behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, I want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Well, our hope is that you have gained a nugget of wisdom and guidance that will help you become a better leader. Now, if you have any questions or comments on today's program, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org. Go to the website and, look around and, hey, click on that little button and send me a note, www.ewfw.org. And I'm going to encourage each and every one of you listening today to really let me know the one thing that you got from this information and show today that you've put into your life, and tell me how it's working. I'm really encouraged by the letters that come in, the emails, the phone calls. But until next time, remember, DW the Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.